Even though this channel is mainly about day trading, I want to take the opportunity to apply other areas of my life and lessons that I've learned there into trading as well. For example, the past 6 months I've been consistently going to the gym, but I felt like I haven't seen any sort of results for a long time. I felt like most of my workouts were not like as high quality as they used to be before. I didn't feel like I was making any sort of progress. I was just going through the motions. And it could feel like you're not making any progress, even though you actually are. You just can't see it yet. It feels like everything has been going up for a while and then suddenly it just goes sideways, or even it feels like it's even going down sometimes. But that's completely natural. It is not a reflection necessarily of your work ethic or that you're doing something wrong. It's just that success is a lagging indicator. So even though you're making the right kind of choices and moves, it's not necessarily reflected there and then yet. And funny enough, recently I finally see the results, and I've also done some changes as well. For example, focusing more on like full body workouts and not just casual splits, and doing those kind of adjustments as well has helped a lot, obviously. And changes in my diet and adapting, which is also important. But even though I felt for a long period of time that I wasn't making any sort of progress, and it's this feeling of emptiness that you feel like it's not that exciting to do those type of activities anymore, and you're not making any progress, and it just feels empty, like you don't necessarily enjoy it as much either, which is completely normal. And oftentimes this is a sign that you're about to elevate, but you haven't like changed into your new identity yet. So it's not necessarily a bad sign either. And this could be applied into day trading as well. In 2024, I've mainly focused on growing accounts, like doing funded challenges and getting funded. So I haven't made that much money yet. In January last year, I felt like I was completely ready to take on the markets and make a lot of money that year. But looking back at it, most of the year I learned something. I still developed, even though I was quote unquote profitable and I passed several challenges and got payouts. I was still had I still had a lot to learn, and I was still, where you're in a profitable stage, but you need to write everything down, a checklist, what you're looking for in the market, and like follow that. It's like at this point I don't even need to do that. I don't write anything down. I don't follow a checklist. I just know, you just have the intuition. It's just natural for you. You don't have to think, oh, I need to look for this. You just know if you have a trade or not, basically. And you could always improvise or adapt to quick changes in the market without hesitation. That's when you know you're actually confident in the markets. But even though I didn't earn like a lot of money in 2024, that doesn't mean that I'm not doing something right, because when it just happens, it goes quickly. And even though our minds function in a logical way, so you have to think logically about how you want to achieve a certain outcome or a goal, this is not necessarily always how you're going to achieve it in reality, because sometimes you can't predict how exactly you're going to achieve it. You can just predict that you're going to achieve it. And this book I read called Reality Transurfing, which is one of the best books I've read in several years, which I really recommend you guys to read. Like, if I should only recommend one kind of self-help, if you want to call it, book, then this is the one I would actually recommend. the author basically says that you can't always focus on how you're going to achieve something. You just have to trust that you're going to achieve it, even though you can't necessarily tell by which means you're going to achieve the goal. You just have to know that you're going to achieve it, and then that it will happen for you somehow. And this is what sometimes also happens in day trading, because for each mistake I made, I learned something. And funny enough, the last day of 2024, I got a notification on TradingView which said that I've used 2,000 alerts in this year alone, and that I need to basically delete some of them because they're taking up space, so I can't use any more alerts. So I've set 2,000 alerts in 1 year. Think about how many trades I've taken in 1 year to use 2,000 alerts. And then by all those trades and mistakes you make, you learn something. So basically, I've done like every single mistake you can make in the market. I've made that mistake, and I learned something from it. So basically, you have 30 days in a month, and you have the same exact news. You have different kind of scenarios, different kind of moves the market could make, but you start to recognize things. You start to recognize patterns, and you know what to look for, especially if you focus on one pair. And at that point, it comes to a point where I used to be like, oh, I don't have enough setups, I want more setups. But it comes to a point where you have too many setups. You have several setups every week. There's no lack of setups. Basically, you will always find a setup if you want. But to get to that point where you confidently could take a setup like several times a week and it could work, you have to go through that period of emptiness, of feeling like you're not seeing any type of progress or results, and just keep going, basically. So if you feel like you hit a plateau or things are not going the direction you want, just continue moving. And it's especially right before you want to give up and you actually have a good excuse to give up, that's when the magic happens. That's when something incredible happens. That's when a breakthrough happens. It's like, it's always the last 5 reps you do on each exercise in the gym which actually builds the muscle. Everything before that is just something that leads up to that point. It doesn't build that much muscle. You don't force your body to change by the first reps. It's always the last 5 reps.